West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
This mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Here we go on a Friday. Hey, love to see those Fridays roll around. Friday, July 11, a big day here on the Bill Press Show, coming to you live on Free Speech TV, nationwide and worldwide on our video stream, Talker TV, TAWKR TV. YouTube.com/Talker TV is where you find us. President Obama back in town today after his little foray into Colorado and to Texas, where, among other things, he played a little pool, he drank a few beers, he had a big meeting on immigration, he raised some money for Democratic campaign committees. He did not, however, partake of the new favorite product of the state of Colorado. At least we're told he did not. Meanwhile, here in Washington, D.C., John Boehner has finally said, dropped the other shoe, sort of. Okay, his big lawsuit against President Obama is going to be about health care, Obamacare, he says. In other words, they're no longer talking about repealing Obamacare. They're no longer talking about replacing Obamacare with something else. Now they're talking about suing the president over Obamacare. Maybe somebody should tell Speaker John Boehner that the Supreme Court has already considered Obamacare and declared it is indeed the law of the land, passed by Congress and signed by the president. And in the latest poll, 74% of Republicans who have signed up for Obamacare say they really like it, and they're getting a lot of benefits from it. Boehner is so out to lunch on this. And fireworks last weekend, fireworks again this weekend for the big World Cup. The match for third place on Saturday between Brazil and the Netherlands. Sunday, the big World Cup championship game between Argentina and Germany. Can't wait to see that. And can't wait to get into the news of the day here with you on Free Speech TV and Talker TV on this Friday morning. Join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Off we go.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
On a Friday morning, here we are. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, as I said, it is ready or not. Here we go. It is Friday. Friday, July 11th. It's still our favorite day around the Bill Press Show. Yes, indeed. And we always ask that question. Why does radio and television have to start on time? Nothing else.
Worst, isn't it?
Nothing else does.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
If you're not quite ready, no matter what it is, then wait 5 minutes. Yeah. You know, you go to the theater, you go, to a political rally or whatever. You go to a sports event. They never really start on time, right?
Yeah.
You know,
so let's just take a couple more minutes.
It's just not fair. And here we are, getting ready and everything, and then you turn around and boom,
time to go.
Time to go. Yeah. So
we should break that mold.
I think we should. I think we should have like a little holding pattern music. If we're not quite ready to leap in.
Yeah, a little elevator music.
Yeah, a little, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we could have a little clock. You know, we'll start and boom, 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 boom.
The Bill Press Show is currently in a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next metro train will arrive in 30 seconds. 29 seconds. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. It's Friday morning, July 11, and we are here in our nation's capital, coming to you live all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station and on the TuneIn app. Download it. It's free. That's the way you find us. If you don't have a progressive radio station near you, you've got one in your pocket on your iPhone. And on with the TuneIn app. We're looking at you, too, on Free Speech TV and on our video stream worldwide, Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker TV. So good to see you this morning and to say hello to the whole team here this morning, Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy. Hello, hello.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Yes, indeed, with Javon Paris here, filling in for Alicia Cruz. She'll be back on Monday, I guess, right?
That's the word.
Javon, good week. Thanks so much for being here with us. And Monty Kensler, too, still keeping the cameras cranked up.
Javon brought donuts in today.
Oh, my God. You know, this is
little donut holes.
Those are the best. So you can just have a little bit. You don't have to eat the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
That's one way to look at it.
Right, yeah.
That's one way to look at
That's the biggest scam, right? They give you just a little one, so you think, oh, these are little, so I'll just eat.
Oh, I'll eat 10 of these.
10 of these, yeah. I'll never have a donut, but I'll have a little.
Ooh, donuts? No, those are terrible.
No. But I'd eat a couple donut holes. I'd eat 10 donut holes. Yeah,
easily.
Yeah. You, I think, are learning that the way to tempt us is through our bellies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We own that.
So I got to tell you, I went to a great event here in D.C. last night. If you're a liberal, you're a progressive. I wish you'd been with me last night here in Washington, D.C. It was the annual dinner of the Roosevelt Institute, which I never actually been around at all, heard of it. But the institute was founded to carry on the tradition of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. They actually raised the money for the Roosevelt Library up in Hyde Park, New York. And they have chapters on college campuses all around the country to get young people involved in politics and in public policy. Do great work. And they honored last night 3 4 outstanding liberal Democrats. Think about this. The awards last night went to Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, to Senator Tom Hartman, retiring from Iowa.
Harkin,
sorry. Tom Hartman's another friend. Tom Harkin, retiring from Iowa. To Congressman George Miller, retiring from California. And to Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro.
Oh, wow.
Still strong.
Yeah.
From Connecticut. But you could not get 3 greater liberals in the Congress than Tom Harkin, George Miller, and Rosa DeLauro.
Yeah.
And no better vice president in our history, I think, than Joe Biden. It was a great event, and I was there as a guest of President Jim Hoffa of the Teamsters. Sat at the table with George Miller and Congressman Sam Farr, a good friend, with President Hoffa, and with once Speaker Nancy Pelosi, soon to be Speaker again, I hope.
Always Speaker in our hearts.
And I'm telling you, the room was full of all the great liberals that you can think of. I mean, Ellie Smeal was there from the Feminist Majority. Of course, Tom Harkin was there. Al Franken, Senator Al Franken, soon to be reelected in Minnesota, introduced Tom Harkin. Nancy Pelosi introduced George Miller. Jill Biden introduced Joe Biden. Who am I missing? I left early because, I get up early, so
you get a pass.
I didn't see who introduced Rosa DeLauro, but I had a chance to talk to Rosa DeLauro. But, I mean, it was every time you turned around, it was just some great friend there. It was wonderful, wonderful gathering. But I have to tell you, my biggest thrill of the night, and I met a lot of important people, and I know most of them, right, in this town. My biggest thrill of the night, I said hello to Rosa DeLauro, gave her a big hug, and there was a woman with her, and then Rosa said, "Bill, you know Lily Ledbetter, don't you?" Jesus.
Lily Ledbetter?
Yes. I almost dropped. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Oh, my God." I gave her a big hug, and I said, I'm such a big, huge fan of yours. It was like somebody said, "Bill, you know Thomas Jefferson, don't you?" Seriously. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah. "Bill, you know Maggie Thatcher, don't you?"
Yeah, right.
The real Lily Ledbetter.
Whoa.
And she looks great, and I just said, "Oh, thank you for what you've done." She said, "I wouldn't give it up, honey."
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes, I fought. Oh, yeah, she was.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was so excited.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I was to tell the truth, I was so starstruck, I didn't even think about getting a photo with her. You know, normally I do that at these events.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
So, anyhow, it was good. So, the Roosevelt Institute, it was great, and the honors well deserved by that group, and I was there representing all of you, and we got a great lineup coming up this morning. John Nichols from The Nation magazine tells us about a big event in the Senate where the Senate Judiciary Committee actually approved, this is stunning, approved a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. Really, really good news. We got reporter friends in today from The Hill, from Yahoo News, and from Think Progress. And, it's Friday. We wonder about the weekend, so we'll have a few, sample a little wine and cheese with some good tips for the weekend. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Speaking of donuts, happy birthday to Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme donuts turned 77 years old today.
They are lethal.
They really are. They will kill you.
No.
But they are 77 years old today, and to celebrate, here's what they're doing. In every Krispy Kreme store, they will have streamers and hats and candles and things like that when you walk in. Plus, they're giving away free donuts. And if you want I know, it's trouble. If you buy a dozen, you can then buy a second dozen for only 77 cents to commemorate the 77th.
Is that right?
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome, yeah.
If you want some free and cheap donuts, Krispy Kreme.
I will not walk in a Krispy Kreme store, only because I know...
It'll shave a couple years off.
A heart attack.
Well, that's why they have the drive-thru, Bill. You can just do the drive-thru, then you don't have to go inside.
Oh, no, is that right?
Oh, man. The big sign, the big red sign, hot donuts now. It's like, I'm one of those bugs to the electricity things, just, oh, man, you got to go.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's very tempting.
Congratulations to Jimmy Kimmel. He tweeted yesterday, "Congratulations to my beautiful and very tough wife, Molly McInerney, for delivering our baby girl this morning."
Oh, how exciting.
She gave birth to a little baby. She, right after the delivery, apparently, tweeted out, "Kids, don't do drugs until you have a baby. Then do all of them." So congratulations to Jimmy Kimmel.
That's absolutely. Did he take the night off?
Yes, he did.
He did. Oh,
yes,
okay.
And in Kansas City, Kansas, yesterday, the world's tallest water slide opened up. It is called the Verrückt. It's open at the Schlitterbahn Water Park. 168 feet
This is
of what they're calling, not a water slide, but a water coaster.
Oh,
is what they're calling it. They say essentially what it is you have a couple of different experiences. You free fall for about 3 to 4 seconds, and then it rockets you back
up again,
using
and then,
water jets and gravity, and then back down again
into the water pool. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
It is terrifying. The guy who built it actually wrote it first and put a little GoPro camera on his head so you could see what it looks like.
It's 17 stories high.
Yeah,
higher than Niagara Falls.
Yep.
But you don't go down in a barrel.
That's right.
And, verrückt means crazy in German.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well named.
Yes.
And you'd be crazy to go down it as far as
I don't think I would ever do this.
No way.
Yeah. Roller coasters I'm fine with. It just seems like there's nothing really. It's just you and the slide. I don't know. I don't think that's for me.
Kansas City, here I come, but not for that. Yes, indeed. Hey, I wanted to start out this morning with, this is unbelievable. It really is. So I don't know whether you know, have you noticed? A civil war has broken out in the Republican Party. Yeah, the Republicans are, they've split into two camps now, and you have to take sides. So the two camps on the one side is John Boehner, who wants to sue President Obama. And on the other side, Sarah Palin, who wants to impeach President Obama. So those are the choices, and Republicans, every one of them, are being asked to take sides and identify which camp they belong to. Are you a lawsuit Republican, or are you an impeachment Republican? John Boehner is not alone, of course. He's got Kevin McCarthy and Eric Cantor and all the top Republicans in the House saying this is what we got to do, and they're moving toward taking a vote soon to authorize the legislation which will allow them to spend your dollars and mine, taxpayer dollars, to sue the President of the United States. So he's got a lot of people with him. And Sarah Palin, as wingbat crazy as she is, she's not alone either. Sarah Palin has with her such Republicans as James Inhofe from Oklahoma, Tom Coburn from Oklahoma, Jason Chaffetz from Utah in the House, and other Republican leaders. It is really just simply crazy. And if you, John Boehner, I think the pressure is maybe getting to Boehner just a little bit. When you hear him yesterday saying, the reporters are saying again, why are you talking about suing the president?
He's been president for 5.5 years. When's he going to take responsibility for something?
Oh, yeah. Well, he almost broke down and cried there.
I'm surprised he didn't.
And, I mean, the whole thing is just silly, and nobody actually, you think the president is quaking in his boots over this? Nobody's having more fun with this than the president. He showed that yesterday when he was in Austin talking to a group of students at the University of Texas.
Think about that. You're going to use taxpayer money to sue me for doing my job while you don't do your job.
Yeah, that's sort of exactly like it is. And the president said it reminds him of a scene from that movie, Departed.
There's a scene in the movie where Mark Wahlberg, they're on a stakeout, and somehow the guy loses the guy that they're tracking, and Wahlberg's all upset, and yelling at the guy, and the guy looks up and says, well, who are you? And Wahlberg says, I'm the guy doing my job. You must be the other guy.
Bob is having fun with this. He went on with the same group of students having fun about. So here are the choices as he points it. That's what we're talking about. Sue me or impeach me.
Sue him. Impeach him. Really? Really? For what? You're going to sue me for doing my job?
Sue me for doing my job while you're not doing your job. The whole thing is just silly. But this, again, this is where the Republican Party is today. Now, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but it does seem to me there's something missing here, right? Don't you find the same thing? That there are more than two choices, right? Don't you think? Right? So the choices available are not only sue him or impeach him. What about the choice of working with him to solve problems and to make life better for the majority of Americans? What about making life better for the American people, right? Don't you think? What about doing your job? What about governing? What about fixing problems? There is a third alternative. Nobody. I haven't heard one Republican stand up and say, you know what? This is silly. It's taking the time to sue him, which ain't going to work. Taking the time to try to have impeachment hearings, which isn't going to work. Maybe we ought to just do something about immigration reform. We won't get everything we want, but at least get down to work. Maybe we ought to try to do something about schools, do something about our infrastructure and our highway trust fund, do something about jobs, unemployment insurance, minimum wage, you name it, climate change, God forbid, right? Yeah. Isn't there a third alternative here? Are they the only two choices, to sue or impeach? 866-55-PRESS. What about this civil war in the Republican Party? Who do you side with, Boehner or Palin, or don't you think there's a better alternative? 866-55-77-377.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you know, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour. So Republicans being asked to choose between the impeachment team and the lawsuit team. Can't believe they believe those are the only two choices. By the way, this happens in light of this latest poll taken by the Commonwealth Fund that found that 74% of Republicans who signed up for Obamacare are very, very happy with their plan and glad that they signed up. So who's Boehner think he's serving with this lawsuit? Quickly, Peter.
We're on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. We had tweeted out about how Congress should work to fix the problems instead of just suing or impeaching. Karen says work. It's not in the congressional vocabulary.
Not these days.
Find us
sure.
on Twitter at BP Show.
Out in Chico, California. Hello, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. I've had pneumonia, and I haven't been able to smoke pot for medical marijuana or for medical reasons. But there is a fourth option. Isn't mental health covered under the Affordable Care Act? Because I really think they need serious mental health counseling.
Well, I think that probably would do John Boehner a lot of good, to tell the truth. And it is covered under Obamacare, and I'm sure, Mark, it's also covered under the gold-plated health insurance plan that the members of Congress have as well. Good for you to check in from out in Chico, California. Say hello to my good friend Bob Mulholland out there, lives in Chico, California. If you happen to run into him on the street, more calls coming up.
This
about
is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years.
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime. I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All right, it is a civil war among Republicans, civil war inside of the Republican Party. 2 camps, the John Boehner camp and the Sarah Palin camp. The John Boehner camp insisting we have to sue President Obama for doing his job while Boehner is not doing his job, and the Sarah Palin camp insisting no, a lawsuit is not enough. not bad enough, not tough enough, we have to impeach the President of the United States. She's actually joined so far by at least 2 U.S. Senators, Jim Inhofe and Tom Coburn, both from Oklahoma. What's missing, I believe, is let's call it the Howard Baker, or maybe the Robert Dole, or maybe even the Trent Lott school of the Republican Party, which would say, maybe what we ought to do is get to work. Maybe what we ought to do is do our job. Maybe govern is a third alternative. Richard's calling from out in Chicago, Illinois, in the great WCPT. Hello, Richard.
Hey, Bill. Happy Friday. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, glad you're there. Happy Friday indeed.
I think it would be a good idea if we worked to initiate breathalyzer tests for the House before they go into session, because it's obvious that there's something wrong, because there's the way they're talking, and I think accidentally some of those guys have gotten their containers mixed up accidentally, and they probably have drunk some alcohol, and they got accidentally.
That yes.
And we could because this sounds like bar talk late at night when the bar is close to closing, and nobody's making any sense, but they just keep talking, and we could help them. We could help them by to keep from embarrassing themselves by instituting breathalyzer tests, and I'm sure they would welcome that, because the next day when they hear what they said, they probably go, "Did I say that?"
It does sound like bar talk late at night. In fact, let's hear that John Boehner thing again. If anybody sounds like maybe he picked up the wrong container, Richard, it's John Boehner yesterday.
He's been president for 5.5 years. When's he going to take responsibility for something?
What's going to do his job? All right, Richard. Richard, great to hear from you out in Chicago at WCPT. By the way, I've been talking with our good friends at WCPT, and it looks like we're going to do a special broadcast live from Chicago on Labor Day.
Nice.
Yeah, going to go out. We're going to have a big Labor Day picnic, and more details coming up. But to try and put it together right now, but I'm very excited. That could be a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Fun. Yeah. There's some other news going on we don't want to bring you briefly up to date on. We've been talking a little bit about the German spy case. Yes, it was discovered late last week that Germany had arrested a German citizen who had been recruited by the CIA to spy on Germany for the United States. Germany summoned our ambassador, John Emerson, good friend of mine, right there, and read the riot act to him and gave him hell. How could you do this to us? That's the first thing they did. Yesterday they announced they were expelling from Germany our top CIA officer at our embassy in Germany, and sending him home to the United States. That happens like with our enemies. When a friend like Germany expels our top CIA officer, that's pretty serious. Obviously, they're pissed off. I don't blame them. And the other facet of this is that President Obama didn't even know about the arrest of this of this spy, our spy, a German citizen. Didn't even know about it until he read about it in the New York Times. CIA not doing its job on several fronts. Now, one other big item in the news. This caught my attention this morning. I want to know. Okay, right now, Peter, you are as in tune with contemporary music as anybody I know.
Okay, all right.
Do you know Romeo Santos?
No, I don't.
How could you not?
I'm sorry.
Could you not?
I feel like I've let you down. I don't know Romeo Santos.
Front page of the New York Times today. Pink Floyd could not do it. Jay-Z could not do it. Metallica didn't even try to do it.
Okay.
Which is sell out Yankee Stadium.
Oh, whoa.
Sell out Yankee Stadium. 50,000 capacity, right? Romeo Santos has sold out Yankee Stadium tonight and tomorrow night. Romeo Santos.
Never heard of him.
And his music, he is a bachata star. Bachata, B-A-C-H-A-T-A. I don't even know what it sounds like.
I don't either.
But
I feel terrible. I love world music. I love that.
Seriously, yeah. It's obviously a Latino kind of guitars. I'll see if it describes it. A gently characterized, rippling guitars, a gently pulsating beat, and in contrast to salsa, an absence of horns.
Huh.
His most recent CD has been viewed 345 million times on YouTube.
Wow.
And we don't know anything about him.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. This culture, this undercurrent sort of here in the United States that we ignore.
You talk about the sleeping giant.
Meaning we are totally ignorant of this. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. This guy grew up in the sugarcane fields of the Dominican Republic. He's been here in this country for a long time. It says his success is a testament not only to the growing influence the nation's Hispanic population of more than 50 million has on the music business, but also to a new kind of music that he has pioneered and masters. 32 years old, sold out. Yankee Stadium. Romeo Santos. I mean, I'm tempted to go out and get one of his CDs.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Seriously, listen to a little bachata. Yeah. So there you go. Meanwhile, on another front, Fox News in trouble again. This time not for one of its conservative talk show hosts, but one of its liberals, a man who used to be a regular guest on this program until he went to move to New York as a co-host of The Five. Their liberal commentator, Bob Beckel, who yesterday used a racial slur when he was talking about the latest news that of the Chinese government hacking into U.S. government agencies.
What they just did, as usual, we bring them over here and we teach a bunch of Chinese people how to do computers. They go back to China and they hack into us, right? The Chinese now have hacked into the Office of Management Budget. Okay. It's a Office of Personnel Management. And who do they go after? Everybody with a top security clearance.
Needless to say, Bob Beckel's been getting a lot of flack over the use of the phrase Chinaman. I mean, God, talk about a blast for the past, for one thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's done this a couple of times now.
No, he has done this a couple of times.
You can't do that, Bob Beckel.
No, Bob, you're making all of us liberals look bad here.
Yeah.
When we come back, big news from the Senate. Big news. I was so excited to read this. John Nichols is the one who reported it from The Nation magazine, and he joins us in our next segment, that the Senate Judiciary Committee has approved the constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. Boy, Senate finally got something right. John Nichols will tell us all about it coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, it is one of the worst decisions ever of the United States Supreme Court, Citizens United. And I must admit, I heard about this constitutional amendment proposed to overturn it. We've talked about it before here on the program. I didn't think it had a prayer, and I was stunned yesterday to get an email from a good friend, John Nichols, Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine, a frequent guest on the show, that the Senate had actually taken it up, and the Senate Judiciary Committee had actually approved this constitutional amendment. John Nichols, I got the news from John Nichols, who joins us on our news line this morning. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, Bill. It's nice to break the news to someone.
Yeah, well, it's nice to break this particular news for sure. So tell us about this hearing and what happens next, and how did they happen to get this through the Senate Judiciary?
It is huge. And, we report on so many horrible things.
Right.
And so many, failures to even have minimal progress. This is sort of a remarkable counter to it. And the only depressing part is that so much of our media has failed to cover the grassroots movement across this country that's built this thing.
Right. Plus, I didn't see any coverage of this vote yesterday either.
No, it was horrid, and it fits. It's part of a whole. When the Citizens United ruling came down, there were an awful lot of people who said, "Well, that's just the way it's going to go." There were other folks that said, "Well, maybe we could tinker around it in Congress a little, maybe pass some sort of disclosure thing, like Mitch McConnell's going to do that." And what happened, though, was across the country, a lot of citizens just said, "Hold it, we can't accept this. This is wrong." And so they built an incredible grassroots movement with very little money. Now, roughly 600 American communities, cities as large as Los Angeles, some of the smallest towns in places like Montana, have formally asked Congress to act. 16 states formally asked Congress through legislative actions or referendums to act on this. And senators began to pick it up. You started to see Bernie Sanders talk about it. You started to see Tom Udall talk about it. Still, I know, how your listeners and you and I think, oh, well, those are our folks. Those are good folks. Those are, people who get it, but it won't possibly move forward. What happened in the last few months is that Harry Reid and some other key leaders in the Senate, Dick Durbin especially, started to realize that as this Koch brothers money flowed in, as this corporate money started to flow,
there really wasn't an alternative to a constitutional amendment, that the people were right. And so they started working on this. Patrick Leahy gets huge credit, along with Tom Udall. He held a hearing about a month and a half ago. They tinkered a little bit with a proposed amendment from Udall. They brought it in yesterday, and everybody knew that, you know, Ted Cruz was going to scream and other folks would. But the Democrats were determined, and they passed it 10-8. The U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, by a 10-8 margin, party line vote, let's acknowledge that, said to the Senate, it's time to amend the Constitution to get big money out of politics.
It really is stunning that they were able to pull that off. And you're right. I mean, I didn't realize until I read your article on it, your blog on it, that 16 states. That's huge, right? You know,
but it's
for a constitutional amendment.
Well, because people realize the enormity of this. You and I get it, but one of the things that I think a lot of media folks and political folks don't understand, this is a big deal to ordinary grassroots Americans who spend most of their days not thinking about politics, but they know the system is broken. And let me give you an example of how real this thing is. Groups like Free Speech for People, Move to Amend, Common Cause, Public Citizen, People for the American Way, have worked very hard in communities across this country and at state levels. Some places they've put this on state-based referendums. In 2012, there were 2 statewide referendums on this issue. One in Colorado that voted for Barack Obama quite easily. One in Montana that voted quite easily for Mitt Romney. Do you know what the 2 states had in common? They each passed their referendum with close to 75% of the vote.
Wow.
Right-wing Republicans voted for this thing.
Right. I was just going to say, it just shows that this is something that unites the left and the right, with just the outrage that the corporations are able to take over. Now, let's be realistic as well. To get beyond the Senate is a big hurdle, right?
To get through the Senate is a big hurdle.
That's what I mean. Through the Senate, right? 67 votes.
Yeah, it's a 2/3 majority. It's what the founders put into place, and that's the playing field you have to get on. But you know what? It's the same playing field you had to get on for ending the poll tax. It's the same one you had to get on for giving women the right to vote, for giving 18 to 21-year-olds the right to vote. The reality is, it is a tall hurdle. You must build bipartisan coalitions. At this point, Mitch McConnell's got a blood oath on this stuff. He is not going to let it go an inch. And neither, frankly, are a lot of other Republicans. But I think it's important, vital to understand, the Democratic Party, which is not always often a bad player on these issues, at least the Democrats in the Senate have come to realize this doesn't work. You can't be a party of the people and be opposed to this constitutional. And here's the important part. We're starting to see Republicans come across. Walter Jones, the very conservative Republican from down in the Carolinas, who faced a Wall Street challenge to his reelection because he's voted some very populist votes on economics and against bailouts for banks. Walter Jones has co-sponsored a House-based constitutional.
Wow.
And dozens of Republican legislators across the country have done so. And there's going to be pressure this year on Susan Collins and other so-called moderate Republicans to break with their party.
Yeah. Well, you know, the exciting thing is that after what happened yesterday, this 10-8 vote, even though it was a party line vote, it now is real. It's now real, and it's something the Senate's going to have to consider. And with that, we got to run along, John. But this is such great news. I'm so glad that you are the messenger this morning of good news. We need some good news once in a while. Damn it.
Once a week.
Okay. John Nichols, thanks so much, man. John Nichols, our good friend with The Nation, thenation.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing John, I want you to just push the battery.
she's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Kevin Cirilli from The Hill coming up at the top of the next hour with us. Peter, what do you got?
Good news, bad news, good news for Mike Boyer. He was the first man to buy legal weed in the state of Washington. It turns out as soon as the news station put him on the air, his employer, an auto auction place, fired him.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, the good news is yesterday he got a call from his employer and they said, welcome back. We're rehiring you. It's okay. It's legal. So he had quite a roller coaster of emotions.
So the same guy that fired him rehired
him.
Yeah, he got so much bad publicity.
Exactly.
For that.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Good for him. Good news from Seattle. You see? Legalize pot and everything goes well.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Here we go on a Friday. Hey, love to see those Fridays roll around. Friday, July 11, a big day here on the Bill Press Show, coming to you live on Free Speech TV, nationwide and worldwide on our video stream, Talker TV, TAWKR TV, youtube.com/Talker TV is where you find us. President Obama back in town today after his little foray into Colorado and to Texas, where, among other things, he played a little pool, he drank a few beers, he had a big meeting on immigration, he raised some money for Democratic campaign committees. He did not, however, partake of the new favorite product of the state of Colorado. At least we're told he did not. Meanwhile, here in Washington, D.C., John Boehner has finally said, dropped the other shoe, sort of. Okay, his big lawsuit against President Obama is going to be about health care, Obamacare, he says. In other words, they're no longer talking about repealing Obamacare. They're no longer talking about replacing Obamacare with something else. Now they're talking about suing the president over Obamacare. Maybe somebody should tell Speaker John Boehner that the Supreme Court has already considered Obamacare and declared it is indeed the law of the land, passed by Congress and signed by the president. And in the latest poll, 74% of Republicans who have signed up for Obamacare say they really like it, and they're getting a lot of benefits from it. Boehner is so out to lunch on this. And fireworks last weekend, fireworks again this weekend for the big World Cup. The match for third place on Saturday between Brazil and the Netherlands. Sunday, the big World Cup championship game between Argentina and Germany. Can't wait to see that. And can't wait to get into the news of the day here with you on Free Speech TV and Talker TV on this Friday morning. Join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Off we go.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Republicans asked to choose between suing the president or impeaching the president. How about a third option? How about, working together with the president to solve problems? Good morning, everybody. I guess nobody thought about that option. It's Friday, July 11. Great to see you this morning. As we come to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, with a look at what's happening here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe. Our job to tell you what's going on. We'll do that. Your job to tell us what you think about it. You can do that by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, by sending us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Here with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Here with you if you're not lucky enough to have a progressive talk radio station where you live. We're there with you on your TuneIn app. You can reach us. You got a radio station in your pocket on your iPhone. Just download the TuneIn app and check out the Progressive Voices channel. And, of course, we're looking at you on Free Speech TV and on our worldwide video stream, Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker TV. And speaking about TV, here he is fresh from MSNBC this morning, Kevin Cirilli from The Hill. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, is this your fourth or fifth media appearance of the morning? Is it?
No, I'm just a little reporter. I just cover the news.
Yeah, right. Bouncing around from studio to studio. It is very good to see you.
But it's always great to eat. There's donuts in the green room, so that made my morning.
Right.
It's always.
That's right.
That's why I got to come here more often. And you guys are having wine in your next segment, right?
Well, next hour, wine and cheese.
I didn't get the invite to that, so but I got the donuts, so I'm happy about that.
Donuts, wine, and cheese go really well together. Just a little sampler platter of each.
Breakfast of champions with the Bill Press Show.
Yeah.
We're just talking earlier about we have to start the wine and cheese maybe a little earlier and then carry it all the way through.
Yeah, and invite me. We'd have a great time.
In theory, that's a good idea, but I don't think you would finish the show. That's the problem. I don't think we'd be able to finish and get through the whole show.
All right. So there's a big announcement this week that Cleveland is going to be the home of the site of the Republican convention in 2016. They're going to have it early in June. And one of the other cities up for consideration was New York. You would think if you had a choice between New York City and Cleveland for a convention, right?
But electorally speaking...
Wouldn't you bet on New York?
No, I think electorally speaking, they want... Cleveland just because of
Ohio.
And being such a swing state. But the big question that I want to know is Cleveland going to get LeBron James? Which imagine that if it was 2 in 1 week.
That could be a win-win. David Letterman was really upset to hear about this choice last night.
Speaking of Cleveland, the Republican convention is going to be held in 2016 in Cleveland, and they defeated New York City, was in the running. Cleveland beat New York City, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this is not right. What, hookers and bribes don't work? What is the problem?
Yeah,
I'm gonna miss him.
What do you have to do to get a convention anymore? Buddy?
Yeah, right.
I've been to a lot of national political conventions, and the best ones by far, New York City.
Really?
Yeah, because you can just walk everywhere. I mean, there's so many hotels, so many hotels, right? And you can get all the hotels in Midtown Manhattan, and just walk to Madison Square Garden, and the whole city sort of becomes like. Whereas, oh man, like St. Paul. We were out in the boonies, have to come in and deal with all that security.
No hotels near the
convention center, and yeah.
Well, and plus, there weren't the hookers and bribes weren't that great out there. So
I wouldn't know. Kevin Cirilli here for the first half hour. Then we'll be joined by Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports a little bit later. Wine and cheese in the next hour. Sorry, Kevin. Donuts this hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. The FTC is coming after Amazon because they say that they allowed children to purchase in-app purchases on their smartphone and tablet. So, if you're playing a game or if you have an app and then you can buy or add credits inside that app, right? You have to buy more, right? These kids have figured out how to do it, and parents are saying, "Wait a minute, we didn't buy that."
Oh, yeah.
And so,
but they did.
But they did, and so they were filing a complaint, and Amazon is saying no. Millions of dollars have been racked up by children who have bought in-app purchases.
Oh, wow.
And PC World reporting this morning, Amazon.com keeps 30% of all in-app charges when someone buys it, so it's in their best business interest to keep those. But again, the FTC is coming after them and saying, you're going to have to give some of that money back.
Jeff Bezos, fight on his hands, huh?
Yeah. Oh, if you ever hand your kids your phone or your iPad, make sure you have some sort of gotta have a lock on it. You gotta have a lock on it. That's something that I have learned the hard way. Today is July 11th. July 11, 7-11 Day means that we get free Slurpees.
Do we really?
Today, free Slurpees at 7-Eleven.
I'm going there.
You walk in here, the different flavors that they have, Bill. Summertime lime, peach dragon fruit, red apple chill, Fanta oddball orange. Here's what they're doing differently than they've done in the past, because you used to be able to walk in and get a small Slurpee at 7-Eleven. This year you have to download the app on your phone. You have to go in, you have to show them the app, and then you get a free Slurpee. But they are rolling it out into an even bigger celebration. Tomorrow, 7-Eleven stores are giving away a free Big Gulp. On Tuesday, July 15th, they're giving away free Twinkies.
My God.
On Wednesday, the 16th, free Twix or Snickers ice cream bar. And then...
Is it like 7-Eleven month? Like
basically. But then on Saturday, July 22nd, more free Slurpees. They're giving out more free Slurpees.
Do you still have to have that app?
Got to have the app.
See, Wawa, where I'm from, they would never make you download it.
Good point.
Whoa. But this is on top of Krispy Kreme giving away free donuts today because this is her 77th birthday.
Anniversary.
So today, you could just get free food.
Come to the Bill Press show for your wine and cheese.
Yeah.
Then you can go to 7-Eleven for your Slurpee.
Yep.
And then Krispy Kreme.
It's also National Diabetes Day, apparently. For the kids.
But this is like
a Slurpee and donut.
This is like going to Costco, where you can just feed from food station
Time to graze.
Food station to food station.
The samples.
Yeah,
the cheese samples. That.
Everywhere. Whoa.
And she is back. It's official. The View confirmed via Twitter yesterday. Rosie O'Donnell is coming back to host the 18th season of The View. She will star alongside Whoopi Goldberg. They still have a couple of other chairs to fill. No word yet on who that is going to be, replacing not only Barbara Walters, not only Sherry Shepherd, but also Jenny McCarthy. So we know Rosie's going to be in there. We'll see who else files in the next couple of days.
Maybe Meghan McCain.
Maybe Meghan McCain. Yeah. That's a name of some people thrown out there. Look at Bill. God, look at Bill. Look at Bill's face.
I thought they wanted people with talent on that.
That's no.
That
she's
show.
No. I disagree. I think that she's very talented, and seriously, I think that she's representing a new generation of Republicans and is very outspoken on a wide variety of issues, and good for her for speaking up. I mean, she had that spotlight in the last election. So.
I'm not trying to silence her. I've just been around her and been watching her for a long time, and I've yet to see any sign of intelligence.
Oh, I disagree. You're going to get me in trouble. I disagree. I think disagree. Let's talk about something else.
15 minutes after the hour now. Let's talk about something you've been writing about.
Yes.
So there's all this talk about Hillary, and everybody's afraid to think that challenge her, and people keep saying, well, how about Elizabeth Warren? No, she has no interest at all whatsoever. She's not going to be playing politics. But you found out Elizabeth Warren is maybe ratcheting up a little bit.
Well,
what's going on?
I think that any senator who says that they, aren't political, I always roll my eyes because, you're in Congress, you are political, you are a politician. But Senator Elizabeth Warren, obviously has a lot of fans in the progressive movement. And she has been campaigning. And in fact, she's been taking her message to some traditionally more Republican-leaning states. Case in point, West Virginia, where she will be on Monday campaigning for Natalie Tennant, who is trailing behind Representative Shelley Moore Capito, who is a Republican who has about an 11-point percentage lead in this race that, in West Virginia went heavily for the Republicans during the presidential election. Romney won the state by like 27 percentage points. So, but that, Senator Warren is going in there and she's going to really try to cast Representative Capito as a friend for Wall Street and not for West Virginia. But there, of course, are some underlying political things as well we can get into.
No, that's very interesting because, first of all, it's a race that most people say Democrats cannot win or have a hard time winning. Yeah. So she's not walking away from a candidate who's behind in the polls, let's say, right? Number one. Number two, she is taking her message of economic populism.
Yes, and that's
to West Virginia.
Virginia.
Where is, by the way, a state where that message could very well resonate, right?
Will it resonate?
Because it's a hard scrabble state.
So you look at this is an open seat by Senator Rockefeller. He's retiring, but the other senator in the state, Senator Joe Manchin, is a Democrat. He's a centrist Democrat who, I got to tell you, Bill, disagrees with Senator Warren on certain economic issues. In fact, and as well as environmental issues. These are coal state Democrats. Senator Manchin, Natalie Tennant as well, disagrees with the president's policies on regulating coal, and they say that it's detrimental to the coal industry.
Well, she's got to say it she has to say it in West Virginia.
But Elizabeth Warren, in contrast to Senator Manchin and candidate Tennant, disagrees with them and agrees with the president. So,
but Tennant must want her to come in.
Exactly. So, it's going to be interesting. The same day on Monday that Senator Warren is campaigning for Tennant, across the state, guess who's going to be campaigning for Representative Capito? Representative Paul Ryan, former vice presidential candidate. So a very high-profile day for West Virginia politics on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So they're taking it seriously.
All right. Now, so there's no doubt Elizabeth Warren, were she to run, would be running as a critic of Wall Street, not an enemy of Wall Street, but certainly a critic of Wall Street, right? That's her whole shtick, right?
Yeah, I think, Elizabeth, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's a pretty popular line among Democrats today, talking about economic populism, income inequality, right? My question is, how's Hillary Clinton going to deal with that issue?
Well, I think...
Because she's got more money from Wall Street and more friends on Wall Street than maybe anybody.
I think the issue that you're raising really represents the difference right now, the split in the Democratic Party. We always talk about the Tea Party versus the establishment. Tea Party versus the establishment.
In the Republican Party, yeah.
Right, and the Republican Party. But and when you look at the left, there is this Warren wing of the party, which some would say is too liberal, or some would say is not liberal enough, depending on where you are, versus the more centrist type of Democrats, the Bill Clinton type of Democrats. And so I think that, it's the kind of conversation that I think the country will be having more and more as we get closer to 2016. Now, Senator Warren says she is not running for president right now. But, if it's not Senator Warren, I would imagine that there would be some other left-wing candidate who would emerge. But that being said, you can't... It's undeniable how strong of a lead the former Secretary of State has in the polls, and it's very formidable.
I always point out our good friend Senator Bernie Sanders, who is not a Democrat now, but is talking about possibly, if nobody else challenges Hillary from the left, that he would do so as a Democrat. So his name is out there too. Meanwhile, among Republicans, the choice seems to be, what do we do? Do we sue Obama or do we impeach him? It's a tough choice for Republicans.
Well, and the president can't decide if he wants to go to the border.
Well, he did decide, and he didn't go, and he's back home. So that issue's behind. But with Republicans, I want to know, as we're going to take a quick break, when we come back, who's going to win here, the Boehner camp of the party or the Sarah Palin wing of the party? Republicans forced to choose sides. We're here for Kevin Cirilli from The Hill, thehill.com. Join the conversation, 866-55-PRESS. We got donuts, we got wine, we got cheese, we got coffee. Come on, join the breakfast table here at the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful?
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it. And they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, sports with Travis Waldron in the next half hour. Politics and policy with Kevin Cirilli here in this half hour. So, Kevin, which is going to prevail here, the Boehner wing of the party or the Palin wing of the party?
Well, I think
are they going to sue Obama or impeach him?
I think they're going to vote on the lawsuit, but you know that's not the Tea Partiers say that that's not good enough.
Yeah.
So I thought it was funny yesterday. President Obama said, "For what?" when asked what they were gonna sue him. But you know, I mean, I think really this is just to drum up support in the base of the party a couple months out ahead of the midterm.
And nobody really expects this lawsuit to go anywhere.
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a journalist, but I don't really know. I mean, again, I think it's a way to drum up support among the base, and yeah.
And it's Boehner's sort of preemptive strike, meaning he knows the crazies want to impeach. He can't ignore them. Look what happened to Eric Cantor.
Right.
So he goes as far as he can go.
That's the race that I'm really more interested in. I mean, I'm interested in the midterms, everyone is, but the one I think about the leadership race in the House and whether or not Speaker Boehner holds on to power and all of that jockeying going on behind the scenes, and we're seeing wedge issues emerge, such as the Export-Import Bank reauthorization, which are really wonky issues that don't necessarily get big play outside of the Beltway, but are wedge issues and markers potentially for a speakership race. I think that's sort of the jockeying that we're seeing going around now.
All right, you mentioned this, and I must admit this is really kind of wonky. The Ex-Im Bank. Most Americans don't even know it exists.
I know.
But this has been around since like the 40s.
Yeah.
Helping Americans, as I understand it, export, import, people who are involved in international trade. So what's the deal what's the controversy about whether or not they ought to extend its life? I mean, Republicans have always supported this in the past.
Exactly, and in fact, Democrats have opposed it a couple of years ago. So what the Ex-Im Bank does, in short, is help finance U.S. businesses entering into emerging markets because the argument is, hey, look, you've got, Africa, for example, huge continent, but, a lot of other banks aren't necessarily familiar with Africa. They're not familiar with the financing of it. So the Ex-Im Bank, which is a government bank, helps to sponsor these businesses overseas so that U.S. can make inroads in Africa because other countries like China are definitely doing that. And now there's this rift among Republicans who say it's corporate cronyism and capitalism. Other folks saying, they want to keep it. It's a wedge issue, though, for this race, the speakership race.
For the speakership race, but here again, Ronald Reagan was a big supporter of the Ex-Im
Jeb
Bank.
Hensarling's leading the charge. Remember his name. He's someone you're going to be hearing a lot more about from the Tea Party in the next couple of months.
All right, and you heard it here first from Kevin Cirilli from The Hill. He knows what he's talking about. Great friend, good guest. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you. Happy Friday, guys.
The Hill, thehill.com.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指.
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years. I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, 33 minutes after the hour on a good Friday morning here on The Bill Press Show. Thanks for joining us. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. and brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. The great men and women of the Laborers Union under President Terry O'Sullivan, Building a Better America. That's their website. LIUNA, L-I-U-N-A, LIUNAbuildsamerica.org. How about it? Fireworks last weekend, fireworks this weekend, too, as the final and the semifinal, I guess, of the World's Cup Saturday and Sunday. Travis Waldron is the man, the sportsman at Think Progress, thinkprogress.org, and joining us in studio this morning for a lot of sports talk. Good morning, Travis.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Everything good?
Everything's great.
You're living it up. There are a lot of big sports stories out there these days. You've got LeBron
some
James.
Basketball players switching teams.
Maybe, right? Yeah, we got the NCAA on the gridiron yesterday, and
always.
Always, but in front of Congress and World Cup. So the first question I have for you today is a question that is asked this morning on the op-ed page of the New York Times.
Oh, good.
And the question is...
This is David Brooks, isn't it?
Are you ready for this? Is life more like baseball or more like soccer?
So I read this column on the train on the way here.
Okay. I read it.
And I'm not quite there.
Well,
I'm not.
You're
quite,
avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding the question. I think life is See, I played baseball. I'm a big soccer fan.
Okay.
Probably baseball. I know he's saying that the whole
life
team,
is more like
the whole
baseball.
Team game, look, life is like in baseball. You fail way more often than you succeed.
Yeah.
And if you don't. See this is why I love. This is part.
You know
of
what? We could write.
I'm following that.
This is why. This is part
You
of why
could
I
do a
hated baseball.
doctoral thesis on this question.
This is part of why I hated baseball and part of why I loved it. You have to learn how to be terrible, because even the greatest baseball players who ever lived, the hitters, succeeded 3.5 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to fail, you're terrible. You're not going to make it. But at the same time, baseball is great because it gives you the opportunity that you got a clean slate. You strike out one time, well, you just go sit back down for a little bit and you come back up and it's all over. You start all over again. But I get his point about soccer and how it's
the point he makes about soccer
it's not independent. It's not individual.
It's a collective effort. It's a team
but
effort.
I think that's a little I think it's oversimplistic because if you look at baseball, like if I'm a hitter, everything I have is in context of hitting and fielding because I wasn't a very good pitcher. Unless I'm hitting home runs, which I never did, then you still got to depend on your team.
Right.
Mm.
Right. I mean, it's still going to be a team effort no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little. I don't know. I mean, me and David Brooks aren't always on the same.
No, I understand. I was
that might be
that.
No, it's just asking the question to me struck me as, first of all, I don't go to or watch any sports event thinking I'm there to learn about life.
Right.
Right. But
I will say I was pleasantly
before
surprised.
the World Cup, nobody would have asked that question.
Right. And I will say I was pleasantly surprised because when I read it, I thought it was going to be another one of those trolley. Like,
Yeah.
Which one is more American?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Okay. All right. Argentina, Germany. Two different games, right? Two different approaches almost to the game.
Very much so.
All right. What do you think?
I think Germany's going to win.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I want to happen.
Precision over fire, or
yeah, I mean,
or whatever.
I think what we've seen Germany twice now against very good teams, just absolutely pummel them. It's been against the lesser teams where Germany struggled a little bit, and not that they're really lesser, but the Ghanas, the United States, where they haven't looked perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They've looked perfect against both Portugal and Brazil. And Argentina, they have Leo Messi, which gives them an advantage against basically everyone. But that Germany's midfield and the way they've been playing, it's
awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And
really controlled.
I kind of want to see a South American team win a South American World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I think Argentina winning would only add to the pain that most Brazilians are feeling still.
Yeah.
But I think Germany is just too much. I think they are the way they looked the other day.
Oh God!
And and there's a part of me too that it's fun when like super teams win the World Cup.
That's what I was going to say. Like
it's fun when you see a team like Spain in 2010. And you're like, that was the team that deserved to win the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they didn't back into it. They didn't kind of limp their way through it. They were just that good.
Argentina certainly deserves to be in the final, right? Like they've played and they've made it there, and not to take away from them. But when you look at the precision of Germany as they've played as a team, right, as opposed to Argentina, which has had these flashes of brilliance to put them where they are,
right?
I think Germany's just in control. It's theirs to lose.
Any lasting effect of the World Cup in this country?
Oh, I mean, there's a long list of lasting effects. The loss, I think the loss itself, the effect will be interesting. The papers are already talking about how it'll affect Dilma in re-election in October. Whether, if they won, I wrote this the other day, if they won, I think it might have been easier to look back at this as a something that was worth it, worth everything they put into it. I think there would have been a large segment of the Brazilian population that didn't feel that way regardless. I think this makes it a little easier. Going out the way they did makes it a little easier to look at some of these stadiums in Manaus and Cuiabá and Natal and places where these stadiums aren't going to get used again and say, wow, we spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
Why won't they use the stadiums again?
Well, Manaus, and there's 4 cities that don't even really have major professional soccer in Brazil. Like, if you look at the one in Sao Paulo, some of the other cities, Belo Horizonte, Porto Alegre, they all have big soccer teams. They're probably going to use them. Sao Paulo Stadium has already basically been contracted to one of the local teams there that was in need of a new stadium. Some of these cities actually needed some stadiums. They were breaking down and things like that. But some of the cities where they put them, they don't have big-time professional soccer. They have low-level teams.
And this wouldn't encourage them to develop
maybe it will, but like Manaus has a 40,000, 50,000 seat stadium, and they don't have a team capable of drawing that. And
right. How about in this country? Any impact in this country?
In the United States?
In the United States?
I hope so. I think so. I think it's a fallacy when people ask what is that big moment for soccer in the United States. I think the 1994 World Cup was our big moment, which, interesting enough, is based on attendance it's going to outlast this one again and still remain the most attended World Cup of all time.
Really?
So
at the Rose Bowl.
Yes. Well, I mean, not just in general, in the aggregate. Yeah. I think the United States has, when you're looking for that one moment, we haven't really had it. What we've had is a slow build toward being a country that treats soccer as sort of the way the rest of the world does. And we're never going to, it's going to be a long time before we embrace it to the extent that some countries do. We're never going to fall in love with it the way Brazilians and Argentinians and some other countries do. But if you look at the success that Major League Soccer has had, they just signed a TV deal that's 5 times bigger than their last one. If you look at the success that NBC has had with the English League on American TV, and we just still have more people playing soccer in the United States than any other country in the world. Like, the idea that soccer isn't a popular sport here is nonsense. It's not. It's competing with a bunch of other sports. Yes, the World Cup is still going to be an every 4-year phenomenon for a lot of Americans, but I think there are a lot of Americans, too, that are paying attention to MLS, that are watching the English Premier League, that are hacking into streams of Mexico's league and Brazil's league and all these other leagues where Americans are playing abroad. And I think I think there will be a lasting effect. It'll be small. It won't be a huge bump. Yeah. But I think there are a lot of people who, I actually had several people ask me, can you write a piece about how to stay in love with soccer after the World Cup's gone? And we have 3 big events coming up for us, for our national team. We have the Copa America, which is generally a South American tournament, and for the 100th anniversary of it, they're combining North America and South America, and it's going to be hosted in the United States. We're going to get to see Brazil and Argentina and Colombia coming here and playing against the United States. And we got the Olympics, which hopefully we'll qualify for this time. And we have, and we have our 2 regional tournaments. So I think there's plenty of chances to stay involved. And I think a lot of people will. I think there are people who are seeking out how to.
Yeah, I've never.
Tell me about if you see this Copa, whatever it is, coming here, and some of those teams coming to this, they're in this area. Let me know. I'd love to go.
Sure,
I'd love to go.
I mean, I always see, like, Travis, you're one of the people I always see tweeting about soccer at weird hours on a Saturday, right?
Yes.
Which is cool. But I never really got into it. But I get it now. And I don't want to say that for me the moment was watching the U.S. Portugal game where they tied in a bar. Right? Like, to me, that was the game changer of like, oh, okay, I like, now I get soccer. Now I get soccer.
It's a uniquely interesting sport to watch with other people.
It's great.
Because so much of it is tense and kind of building up to this one moment.
Yeah, you just become this one thing.
And when you get that one moment, it's like you have to have somebody there to like appreciate it with. It makes it better.
That's cool.
I think I think soccer is going to continue to grow. I think especially here, if you look at the numbers for Washington, D.C. and Baltimore on TV and things like that, and not just for the World Cup, but I think Washington was the biggest market this year for the English League for NBC. if we get this new stadium and we see United actually play in a place that is watchable, that is fun to go to rather than RFK, which, as much as I don't want to spend a bunch of our money on a new stadium, RFK is a dump and it's terrible. And there's no atmosphere at United games.
No. Yeah.
I think there's it's a slow burn. It's a slow growth process, but we're on the right track.
All right. Travis Waldron here from Think Progress, thinkprogress.org. And the big question is, what the hell is LeBron James going to do? Travis knows. He will tell us when we come back here on the Friday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour, Meredith Shiner from Yahoo News in studio with us at the top of the next hour. Right now we're talking sports, all the various aspects of it with Travis Waldron, the sports editor at Think Progress, thinkprogress.org. So here's my take on this LeBron James. And you know me, I'm not a sports guy. I just think it's a whole fake, right? That he's going to stay at the Miami Heat and he just wants just getting the publicity, enjoying the ride. And nothing wrong with that, but we're all falling for it. That he might actually go back to Cleveland. Really? Only the Republicans are dumb enough to go to Cleveland.
Sorry, Cleveland.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna stay away from that one. But
what's he up to?
I think if I was a betting man, which I kind of am.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's staying in Miami.
Do you? Yeah.
I think the longer this drags out, the more likely it is that he's staying in Miami. I don't know why, but I've thought from the jump that he was staying, and I guess maybe because I'm a betting man, I'm sticking with that. But I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Cleveland. I think there's some really good arguments, basketball-wise and otherwise, to go back to Cleveland.
How about dollar-wise?
Dollar-wise, probably so too.
Yeah.
I think what I think is awesome about this, and we talked about this a little bit before, is this is a player who has a unique amount of power among anyone in sports, and he is exercising it.
Yep.
And in a sports world where the players often get run over, and especially in the NBA, when it comes to the lockouts that they've had in the last 15 years, to see him embrace that and say, this is my league.
Yeah.
And, kind of pull the strings on everybody, even if it's maybe a little like oddly evil. It's funny to watch. It's funny to watch these players who get yanked around so much. And from, LeBron has asserted himself as more than kind of a basketball star over the last few years, whether it's from the way he spoke out on Trayvon Martin's death, the leadership role he took on Donald Sterling, the fact that he thought about running for president of the union. And now this kind of goes to the economic side of it. I think LeBron is kind of showing people like, look, this is, you disadvantaged us as economically a little bit, but this is my league.
And it's empowered guys like even Chris Bosh, who was saying like, I'm going to go to the Rockets if LeBron leaves, but if he's not, I'm fine to stay here. I'm going to take my time and see what he does.
Now, I want to jump in only because of the interest of time. In talking about players who are taking advantage of, a hearing yesterday in Congress about college players taking advantage of. Here, just one voice is Senator Cory Booker.
This is plain and simple the dark side of the NCAA, where athletes are being exploited.
Yeah, NCAA taking some heat, rightfully so, right?
They were, and Cory Booker is a former college athlete, so he comes at this from a unique perspective in the Senate and in Congress. I think the NCAA hearing, I thought Senator Rockefeller summed it up probably best, is that if you've been following this, what was said in that hearing was largely the arguments that have been made for 50 years in defense of the NCAA and nothing really different. The most interesting part of the hearing to me, to shift just a little bit, was Senator McCaskill bringing up her new report on sexual assault and on college campuses, and that 20 to 30% of schools let athletic departments deal with sexual assault involving athletes, which is unconscionable to me. That
no kidding,
right? And under Title IX and all these other issues, we already have all these problems on campus in general, and now you're saying, when it comes to athletes, a lot of these schools are letting the athletic departments deal with it. I think, and that shows how deep.
I think at Penn State we saw what happens when you let
right. I mean, Penn State, where you look at all the other sexual assault cases we've had in recent years, and I think that shows. I thought that hearing was really good at showing kind of how widespread the problems with the NCAA are and how out of control it all is. And I thought Senator McCaskill made a kind of the funniest point of the whole thing when she asked Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, who has this like circular logic where he says, well, I'm not really in power, the schools are. And she asked, well, then why are you here?
Oh, good. Damn. Well, we know why you're here. Travis Waldron, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right.
Always
Think Progress. ThinkProgress.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, just about finished up with the first 2 hours here this Friday morning. Moving into the third hour as we lose you on Free Speech TV. Come on over to the worldwide video stream, Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker TAWKR TV. And in this next hour, we're going to be joined by Meredith Shiner from Yahoo News. She covers the Hill for Yahoo News. And then we're going to kick back on a Friday and sample a little wine and cheese with our friends from Sona nearby here, our studio in Washington, D.C. Hour number 3 coming up.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right? 5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters. I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years, I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live,
I would be the boss of all the chipmunks. Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything.
Why are you asking me that?
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Meredith Shiner will be here from Yahoo News, and then we're going to take a break with our Sona Creamery, located just around the corner here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and talk about some wine and cheese selections for the summer. You know, it's a public service. We didn't want to have to drink wine this early in the morning, but we're going to make the sacrifice and do it.
We do the tough things for you.
President Obama back in the White House today. He gets the daily briefing this morning at 10 o'clock this morning, and then about 11 o'clock he's going to be meeting in the Eisenhower Executive Office building just across that little driveway from the White House itself with a group of company executives and their small business suppliers, again, to talk about the economy and jobs and maybe what executive action he can take since Congress is still doing nothing about jobs, nothing about anything, except trying to figure out how to sue the president. At 12:45 p.m., we will be meeting in the briefing room with Press Secretary Josh Earnest. One more hour coming up. Stay with us for Meredith Shiner and Wine and Cheese.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
Yeah, I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. Truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Civil war inside the Republican Party today. The Boehner wing that wants to sue the president and the Palin wing that wants to impeach the president. Maybe there's a third choice, like maybe work with the president to solve some problems. Haven't heard anybody talk about that. Good morning, everybody. Friday, July 11. Great to see these Fridays roll around, especially this one with the big World Cup coming up this weekend. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us on your local progressive talk radio station on the TuneIn app. Tune it. Download it. It's free. Go to Progressive Voices channel. There we are with you every day. And good to see you on our worldwide video stream at Talker TV, youtube.com/Talker TV. Peter, I don't know. We haven't said. Just trying to think of what kind. Switzerland. How about that?
Sure.
I spent 2 years going to school in Switzerland,
There you
so a little shout out to Switzerland this morning here.
Shout out to Switzerland.
Whatever that was. And we are so glad to be with you this morning and to welcome to our studio good friend here for the first half hour from Yahoo News, covering the Hill for Yahoo News, Meredith Shiner. Hello, Meredith. What's going on?
Well, I mean, for those of you lucky enough to be watching on the video live stream, I got a very nice warm welcome this morning when Peter Ogborn tried to high-five me as I was holding a mug of water.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, and doused me in water. So it was my second shower of the morning.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah. It's fine.
He just threw it. I saw him.
Oh yeah.
I said to Bill, I said, watch this. Watch what I'm about to go do to Meredith. And then walked out.
Progressive radio's war on women.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Officially on the record.
Your apology is accepted. It's
Oh,
fine.
there you
You're still
go.
my
All
favorite
right.
people to
Oh,
spend
good.
a Friday morning with.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We've been
those who think that Meredith Shiner is all wet now have proof of the same. Here
you go.
She joins our team here.
And moving on.
The aforementioned Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
With Lisa Murphy. Hello,
Hey,
Lisa.
good morning.
Javon Paris has done a great job with us this week, taking your phone calls, and he's still there at 866-55-PRESS. Alicia Cruz comes back on Monday. And I guess it's Monty Cancelar's last day, too, at least for this week.
Supreme's back next week.
Supreme will be back.
Yes, indeed.
We don't know that for sure.
We've been on a pretty extended hiatus.
We don't know whether we'll ever see Supreme again. But Monty, thank you for being here as well. So other than that, the whole team assembled. You mentioned, Peter, yesterday the Emmy nominations came out yesterday for late night. Jimmy Fallon show came big time with 6 Emmy Awards. Six Emmy Awards. He told last night about how he's going to have to share the credit, actually, for those, if he wins.
Today, our show got nominated for 6 Emmy Awards. Oh, I'm so happy. And if we win for best show, I promise to give the Emmy to my parents. And if we win for best writing, I promise to give the Emmy to Rob Ford. He's responsible for half our monologue. Him and Chris Christie, yeah. They have to split it. Chris Christie doesn't like to split anything. So it's just...
a lot of
Neither does Rob Ford.
Exactly.
Wait.
But in terms of material for late night shows, Rob Ford and Chris Christie have provided an awful lot. Yeah.
It makes me really angry to think about the Emmy nominations because House of Cards, which I didn't even watch the second season, got so many, and all of these Beltway shows got so many. Mm-hmm. And The Americans, which technically is set in Washington, D.C., did not get nominated for Best Show, and it is a wonderful show.
That's what I hear. I haven't watched it.
I'm also really into The Good Wife, and that didn't get nominated for Best Show or Best Writing either. It's a good one too, although it's sort of politics-y-ish.
But it was Game of Thrones that got...
Yeah, the most.
Well, stay tuned. Right? I've got the whole list coming up.
Let's not spoil Peter's.
Sorry, don't mean to jump on
newsman here.
Don't mean to jump on your story here. Okay, Meredith here with the first half hour, and then we are going to take a break and sample some good wine, hopefully good wine and cheeses for the summer at the half hour. I'm hungry.
I know, man.
I'm just. You guys just wanted to dispense with me. That was it. You threw water on me, hoping I'd go away. You could do an entire hour-long wine and cheese segment.
But first, Peter's got
this
real stories
is the
of the
Full
day.
Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. We will start with the Emmys, as you just mentioned. There are obviously a lot of different categories. We're going to tweet out the full list, but just a couple of highlights. Best Actress in a Drama Series. The nominees are Lizzie Kaplan for Masters of Sex, Claire Danes for Homeland, Michelle Dockery from Downton Abbey, Juliana Margulies for The Good Wife, Kerry Washington for Scandal, and Robin Wright for House of Cards. Also in Best Actor, Bryan Cranston for Breaking Bad, Jeff Daniels in The Newsroom, John Hamm for Mad Men, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey both for True Detective, and Kevin Spacey for House of Cards. Leading the way, of course, was Game of Thrones. They have 19 nominations overall.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. All good stuff.
Speaking of...
Even though your shows are not included. Meredith.
Yeah, right. Speaking of Game of Thrones, creator and writer George R.R. Martin delivered a definitive FU to fans of the show who keep asking him, when are you going to finish the series? He started the series. They started making the TV show out of it. It's not finished. The series is called A Song of Ice and Fire. He gave an interview with a Swiss newspaper, and they said, what do you think about all the readers who worry that you might die before you finish the series? He held up a middle finger and said, blank you, to the paper, because he says he's going to get it done and for them to not worry about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Crumb's Bake
Shop.
Shop.
Strongly express yourself.
We talked earlier this week about how Crumb's Bake Shop was closing all of their stores. Bill, you predicted that someone was going to step in and save Crumbs, but you were not wrong. Marcus Lemonis told CNBC that he's leading an investor group to bail out Crumbs. Again, on CNBC, Marcus Lemonis owns Sweet Pete's Candy Store, which I'm not familiar with, but he also has a hand in Dippin' Dots and Camping World, a very big outdoor company. So they've come together with a couple of other people. They got $5 million that they're going to put back into Crumbs, so we should see it back on the market here.
It just seemed to me a big opportunity because you've got the stores, you have the outlets, you've got the name, you got the product.
Although people are now saying, now that the cupcake trend has sort of passed, maybe it's just a good thing to let it die, but they disagree. They're going to keep it going.
Cupcakes will never die.
Yeah.
You can always just bake them in your kitchen.
True.
True. Like muffins. I just don't do that anymore. 13 minutes after the hour. President Obama, the last couple of days, Meredith, down in the Southwest, Colorado and Texas, and whenever the issue of what we ought to do about the border came up, and that's mainly what he was talking about, the president said, look, the answer is pretty simple. Congress should just pass the comprehensive immigration reform, number one, and if they want me to speed up the process of dealing with all these kids at the border, pass this supplemental request that I put in there, give me the resources to do the job. That decision or that request for $3.7 million now in front of the House and Senate. What's it look like?
I believe it's billion, right?
Billion. Did I say million?
Yes.
Billion. Yes. What's it look like?
So there was a hearing yesterday on the Senate side to discuss the supplemental. I think it's going to be difficult to pass, particularly because, Barb Mikulski, who's the Senate Appropriations Chairwoman, thought that she was going to be able to clear multiple appropriations bills this summer. Because if you remember, there was that whole agreement between Patty Murray and Paul Ryan that set spending levels for 2 years, which was the result of the legislation that was passed outside of that.
But don't emergency supplemental requests sort of have a sidetrack?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a separate supplemental bill. The administration is also asking the Appropriations Committee to consider extra funds to deal with the wildfires out west. But the question is whether or not, when the entire process is stalled, that Republicans are going to come to the table and approve this emergency supplemental and approve it without offsets or a commensurate level of spending cuts to the spending that they are approving. I think it's going to be difficult. I think that, they're also running out of time to do it because they're going to go on recess in August. So basically, they have this 2-week window here where they can actually act on it and pass the legislation. And once that closes, the House is scheduled to be in something like 10 days. 10 legislative days. The Senate is scheduled to be in more, but they won't be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not saying anything is easy, but how can Republicans complain about the fact that Obama's doing nothing about these 52,000 kids, and when he puts a request in them for some money to deal with it, they turn it down? I mean, they cannot have it both. Look, I'm just sick of these guys, right? They cannot continue to have it both ways. Right?
I mean, they can say whatever it is that they want to say. I mean, I think what you heard from the speaker yesterday, whether or not you think it's valid, is that, the administration really hasn't shown that they're able to competently handle the situation. So why would I, quote unquote, write him a blank check? I think that that's what you heard from Speaker Boehner. But it's interesting, when I was watching that video, he went a little apoplectic on the administration yesterday. I was reminded, and I don't know if you must have seen this and talked about this, there was this video from Ohio where John Boehner was impersonating conservative Republicans about immigration.
Don't make me do that.
Yeah, that one. Like, I think that John Boehner is just frustrated with everyone right now. I think he's genuinely frustrated with some of the conservative Republicans in his conference, and I think he's frustrated with the administration. And probably, truthfully, he has, justification to be frustrated with both. But I think that he is just this man stuck in the middle right now, and he's got no real option that he would like to pursue.
Well, first of all, here's John Boehner yesterday.
He's been president for 5.5 years. When's he going to take responsibility for something?
Yeah, and we've heard him when he was mocking his fellow Republicans over the immigration thing. Mm-hmm. Don't make me do this whole thing. Yeah. But I could not disagree with you more on John Boehner. What do you mean there's nothing he can do? There's one thing he can do. Schedule a vote on immigration reform.
Yes.
One thing. And you know as well as I, because we've talked about it before, the votes are there.
So
you have all the let me finish. You have all the Democrats and you'd have enough Republicans, and we would have comprehensive immigration reform. Now, he might lose his job. I doubt it. But he certainly would get some flack from the right wing. But there's something he can do.
And I've been thinking about this lately too. Just like, what is in like the psyche of John Boehner? What is it that he wants? Because remember, before he was speaker, and I think even if you asked him today what his biggest accomplishment has been as a lawmaker, he would say, "No Child Left Behind." Granted, that law has turned out to have some ups and downs, but he was, the head of that committee of jurisdiction and worked on that legislation and had a huge hand in passing it. And I think that he's still one of those leaders who was, at least, if not focused on legislation, liked doing legislation. It's not like someone like Eric Cantor, right? A lot of times when you see people on a leadership track in the House, they've never really run a committee or they've never had a high position in a committee because it's not of interest to them. They're in like two separate tracks. Mm-hmm. Like someone like Eric Cantor wanted to be speaker because he wanted to be speaker. And I think that John Boehner has this history and this experience of doing big legislation. And the question is when he looks back at his tenure as Speaker of the House. Like, what does he want his legacy to be? Does
his
he want
legacy is already set. His legacy is presiding over the most do-nothing Congress in the history of the entire Congress. That's a fact. Nobody disputes that. In terms of accomplishments and legislation, his speakership, whatever he did before, his speakership is a big fat zero.
I do think, and there is a lot that's right with that, but I will say that, like, at least in multiple occasions, he didn't sink the ship. Like, they came close, but think about the government shutdown in October. It was terrible. It was catastrophic for Republicans, but I think that it was a really important point for John Boehner to make, because he was like, look, you guys want to run things, you run it. And it wasn't the debt limit, right? The debt limit would have been the much more catastrophic economic event, which is not to say that it wasn't a disruptive or difficult economic event to shut down the government.
But again, I think you're giving John Boehner too much credit. How did he resolve that? He resolved that by allowing the full House to vote. And it saved shutting down the government again, right? I mean, he could resolve this immigration crisis by just allowing a vote. It passed the Senate a year ago with 14 Republican votes. So for John Boehner to say, I'm frustrated with the administration, well, then do something, Boehner, you know.
There was always, like, they had some sort of, like, pretenses that they were going to do their own bill, and that always seemed to flounder.
I know. There was a Gang of 8, in fact, remember?
We talked about it. There are always so many legislative gangs.
But there was in the House, there was a Gang of 8 similar to the Gang of 8 in the Senate. Republicans and Democrats, 4 of each, working on this. And you're right. They talked about coming up with, boy, we don't hear about that anymore. I guess that just...
every once in a while, remember the fiscal Gang of 8 in the Senate, or Gang of 6, and then it became the Gang of 8, and then the Gang of 82. Like, you always hear about it once every 3 months when people want to, like, gin up some stories, but there's no real progress on that.
So if they don't do anything, if they're not doing anything about immigration reform, what are they spending their time on in the House? How about, here's an idea, how about a lawsuit? Meredith Shiner is here with us from Yahoo News, covers the Hill. Your questions, your comments, always welcome. Jump in at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? you celebrate the victory? Did you take a chance?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 26 minutes after the hour. Wine and cheese from Sona Creamery coming up next. Right now we are talking policy and politics on the Hill with Meredith Shiner from Yahoo News. So, President Obama in Austin, Texas yesterday telling the students about the little surprise that he might have waiting for him when he comes back to Washington, Meredith.
Sue him. Impeach him. Really? Really? For what? You're going to sue me for doing my job?
They're going to sue him for doing his job, he added, when they're not doing their job. So is this going anywhere? Is this serious? Are they really going to do this?
So I've been thinking about this a lot this week because one of the stories I've been covering was Joni Ernst, who's the Senate Republican candidate in Iowa.
Right.
And so I had broken that story about her 6 months ago at this GOP forum calling for impeachment or saying impeachment was on the table. And then just 10 days ago, she went on, or I guess now it's like 12 because the story was 2 days ago. She went on conservative radio in Iowa and was basically pushed by the host to say that impeachment was an option. And it's amazing because it sort of revealed this echo chamber that exists. And granted, there's echo chambers for whichever side you're on. I think that you can selectively choose, what you consume and what you listen to. Like, obviously, we're talking on progressive radio right now. But I think the problem with conservative radio is that, the conservative wing of that party is so much further out of the mainstream of what the, middle of that party is. And so you have someone like Joni Ernst who has backing from the Tea Party but also the establishment getting pushed into saying impeachment. Yeah. And so I think that you have a lot of these Republicans who are getting pushed into taking these positions because it's how you sort of cover your flank. Yeah. So for John Boehner, this is very much a covering his behind with his conservative.
The right way. And with that, we got to leave it right there. Thanks so much. All right. Have a great weekend.
Yeah,
watch a lot of World Cup. See you next
week. This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years, I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything.
Why are you asking me that?
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
On a Friday, July 11, it's 33 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show, we're coming to you live, coast to coast, from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us this morning. Now, you know, those of you regular listeners and viewers to the show, that Peter and I are both foodies. So is Elisa Murphy. Peter more than I. But we enjoy our fine wines and our fine cheeses and our fine foods. And we are very excited and very fortunate here on Capitol Hill in Washington, which is a great neighborhood and more great restaurants. And so very excited in the last few months, right around the corner from us, has opened up a great cheese shop and restaurant called Sona Creamery. And one of the owners of Sona Creamery, Jen O'Sullivan, is in studio with us this morning with lots of goodies for us to sample for this upcoming month of August. Hi, Jen. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I must tell you, I love Sona. I've been there several times. You may not have recognized. I usually have a cap and sunglasses on when I come in, disguising. But I've bought some wonderful cheeses from the shop, and I think you have the best cheeseburger in the world.
You've been in for lunch, then?
I've been for lunch, and the best lamb burger. The last time I was in, I had the lamb burger to die for. Absolutely, yeah, right. So I'm excited to see you. Thanks for coming in and sharing with us. Peter,
I haven't had the lamb burger yet. I have had the hamburger. It's crazy. It's crazy good. So,
and the mac and cheese also.
It's also in our building.
Yeah, that's why I say
dangerous.
Around the corner. It is the same building.
So dangerous.
Yeah. I've been looking for the secret stairwell that goes directly from this floor, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to walk outside and walk around and be tempted by the coffee shop or the gelato shop. We just go right to the Sona Creamery, right? So what do you got for us this morning?
So we decided to bring in one of our featured cheeses for the month of July. It's La Junatis. It's basically a goat's milk Maubrière, which is usually made with cow's milk. It's a washed rind cheese, but as far as washed rinds go, it's not super funky. And wanted to kind of introduce like not only wine and cheese pairing, but beer and cheese pairing, which is becoming more and more popular.
Oh, whoa. Okay, Peter, we should be sure and let me see the shoot. I just want to see the name of the cheese to send it out so that people know if they want to. Yeah, Le Genotis.
Okay.
So
you pronounce it much better than I do.
Genotis from goat cheese from France. Okay.
Cool. All right,
good. And what goes with it? So if people want to try that cheese, you can find it, I'm sure, at your local cheese shop. More and more cheese shops are popping up all over the country, which I think is really exciting.
They are, and this is a popular cheese. I will say our head monger, Matt O'Haron, does a really, really good job in looking for things that are a little unusual, but very, very good. So we carry more than 100 cheeses in our retail. We'll be making cheese by the end of summer on site. We'll be the first creamery in the history of the district. As far as we actually had someone do research, public records request, and we cannot find any history of any commercially produced cheese.
No, I've seen that little outfit you've got there, but I haven't seen it working yet. So it'll be up by the end of
summer. Yes.
Right.
So part of it's just that whole process of getting it going.
Yeah. All right. So with this cheese, what are we sampling?
So we're going to start with a very dry cider out of Virginia. It's called Potter's. This is just recently starting to distribute, so it's new. It kind of almost resembles the champagne in flavor. It's kind of amazing. And so what we do when we go to do our classes is we try cheeses with multiple wines because we want to make sure we have the best pair, because we don't want people to go like, oh, okay. We want people to go, wow, that's amazing pairing. And so the first thing we do is we actually take a piece of the cheese, and cheese is just like wine. So you're going to want to kind of bend it a little bit, smell it.
Really?
And then.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
And then you're going to want to take a small bite.
Okay.
And taste it. The first time, I
love that. That's really good.
It's pretty mild, though.
Very mild.
For a washed rind, you'd expect more.
Totally.
And then you're going to swallow that, and then you're going to go ahead and take a sip.
Not guzzle, Bill. It's a sip.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when you do that, what you're going to kind of see if they play off each other.
Ooh, that's delicious.
It's a cider. It's like champagne.
It is.
Yeah.
It is like champagne. I feel like this actually, the cider almost falls flat, though, because it's not quite big enough.
Right. That's when you said it was mild. It's
not quite big enough for the cheese. So we can move on to our next one, to our next drink. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to smell the cheese, and then we're going to take.
I like bigger bites of the cheese.
A bite. You can, honey, you can have as much as you want.
Okay.
And then the next one we're moving to is the Phoenix Saison from 3 Star, which is actually a DC brewery.
I love saisons. Yeah.
And this is a really, it's a rye saison, and we really liked it because it has kind of some layers. So I'm thinking this may do a little better as far as the beers go.
So this is beer and cheese.
This one is beer and cheese. So we're going to take a sip of that.
Oh, I love that. That's really good.
And that, I'm starting to get some playoff now where the cheese is playing with the beer flavor a little bit. And so even though I'd swallowed the cheese, I kind of got a return of that flavor of the cheese when I took a sip of that. So
I want to say, just to ask a question. Do crackers ruin the experience?
So bread.
You don't have, you think of cheese and crackers, right?
Yeah, or bread.
Or bread.
Or baguette.
Yeah, bread or baguette.
And so if you're a monger, they are very, very specific about the fact that bread is a palate cleanser. Crackers are a palate cleanser. So between cheeses, that's when you're supposed to eat it. So it's one of those things where I think it depends on the cheese. I mean, there's even some cheeses that are a bit heavy for me that I kind of need the bread with them because I need that little bit of just tone it down slightly. But I definitely have gotten more into the just the cheese for sure. So so this saison I think does a really good job with this. So that would be if we went ahead and did a beer and cheese pairing class. I would absolutely do this pair because I think that this brings much more of that cheese out, which is what we're looking for.
I'd vote for that.
Yeah,
right.
It's totally different than the first one we had.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, good.
So the next wine. So we're gonna go to wine now.
I'm just
How you feeling? You feeling all right?
I am happy as
He's all of a sudden in a good mood.
I'm happy as a pig, and you know what? Yes.
And I can't say this is the worst Friday morning I've ever had either.
Oh, all right.
I don't usually get to do the cheese and wine this early. So the next one is actually a Chardonnay out of South Africa. It's called Over the Mountain, and it's a different than you're going to.
So Peter, we're going to text, send out all these.
Tweet all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get all the info.
And this is a local importer came in, and there's some great folks, and they brought this in, and it's really interesting. It's almost got some melon notes to it, floral melon notes, which is why we wanted a bigger white to go with this, because our red's going to be a Pinot Noir out of Willamette Valley in Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So we've got like a stronger white and kind of a more laid back red is what we're going for. So we're going to go ahead and do our thing.
Over the mountain?
Over the mountain.
South African Chardonnay? I've never had a South African Chardonnay. So, yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Isn't it different?
It is way different. It pops a lot more, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot. Although I almost feel like it also like is almost too big for the cheese.
No, yeah, that makes sense. But
So
it definitely hits you a lot more than the first two things we tried.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then the last, of course, is Lundin.
I don't think it's too big for the cheese, but anyhow.
I've seen you drink Night Train with good cheese, Bill.
Yes,
I haven't seen him drink Night Train with good cheese. I just want to clear that up.
All right.
So the last one is Lundin, and it's out of Willamette Valley. So it's a very traditional Pinot Noir. It's all the grapes are pulled from Willamette Valley. It's out of McMinnville, Oregon. And being Northwesterners ourselves, we've actually worked very hard to bring in a lot of Northwest wines, specifically Washington State, because that's where we're from. But we also wanted a really, really solid Pinot Noir.
I've been to McMinnville, been to the Willamette Valley. You can't do better Pinot Noirs from Willamette Valley. That's
gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so this one is actually, we just brought this in about a month ago, and it's been really popular.
You're supposed to take little bites of the cheese.
No, I told you I like the cheese. I mean, no.
We've got a whole chunk to leave here.
Just bring him a block of cheese so he can eat like an apple.
But that's interesting. Red or white, I guess it depends on your taste, right?
And it also depends on the cheese. Some can play with both.
That's good.
Oh, I like that a lot.
I feel like that one kind of plays a little better because the Pinot Noir is light enough that it can interplay with the cheese that isn't quite as pungent as you'd expect.
Right.
So this is your first store, Sona, right? And do you have others planned yet? Or
well,
you've really done a great job.
We're going to get
here.
the cheese making up and going because that's what we're excited about. My husband and I, as we like projects, and we started making cheese I think it's about 9 years ago now. I kept saying 7, but I've been saying that for 2 years, so I realized I was probably off on my years a little. And we like projects, and we love. We wanted to work together, and that is we both have professional lives, professional careers, and we really love cheese and wine, and thought, God, why not do pursue our passion, but actually get to spend some time together. I will say it's often divide and conquer, so we don't necessarily see each other all day. We're in the same space, but yeah, it's been really great, and we're so excited. I did a cheese making class actually. A local law firm wanted to do a team building thing, and we did just a quick couple-hour cheese-making class the other night, and they had a blast, and it was just not in the vat, but they got to take home the cheese they made, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Wow. That's a great team-building exercise. Awesome. So it's sonacreamery.com. We'll put up a link on our website as well, and we will text out the names of the wines and beers and ciders we've been sampling, as well as tweeted out, as well as the cheese. So, General Solomon, thank you so much for coming in. Look forward to seeing you around the corner here again pretty soon. Okay.
It was a pleasure.
All right, really lots of fun. Great job.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, it's 11 minutes before the top of the hour, and I have a bitch right now. I have to tell you.
Sure, go ahead.
While I was talking to Elisa getting ready for this next segment, I didn't realize that somebody took all 4 of my wine glasses here.
Don't worry, they're out here.
We're cleaning up. We'll keep them out there.
Well, what happened?
Well, we had to clean up. They had to go.
I just reached for a sip, and the cupboard is bare.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll take the heat off.
All right. It's a Friday. You know, the other thing we like to do on a Friday, other than drink and eat, is look back at our favorite sound bites of the week and bring the top to you, the top items. Start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. July 4 is a big day around the White House, not because of the fireworks, because it is somebody's special's birthday.
Number 5.
Of course, this is always a special day for us because this is Malia's birthday.
Malia's birthday, as she turned 16, and she got a car for her birthday, which she is limited to driving around the White House grounds, we think. But at any rate,
I get a lot of road experience.
Joan Rivers, man, she may be getting older, but she is as mean as ever and as strong-willed as ever, I guess. She was on with CNN with Frederica Whitfield, and she didn't like the questions, the tone of the interview, and she let her know it.
Number 4.
I make people laugh for 50 years. I am put on earth to make people laugh. My book is funny. I wear fur that was killed 15 years ago. I work for animal rights. Stop it with, and you do this, and you're mean, and you're that. You are not the one to interview a person who does humor. Sorry.
And she got up and walked off the set.
Adios.
Took her microphone off, and she was out of there. Joan Rivers. Luke Russert, son of famous Tim Russert, of course, on MSNBC the other day. He's had it with people who complain about TSA, and he just tells them, come on, man up. Well, that's not exactly the phrase he used.
Number 3.
I cannot stand people who complain and moan about the TSA, because you're so right.
Luke,
all it takes is one time. And then everyone goes, where was the TSA?
Right.
Why did they fail? Where were they? Sack up, get in line, take off your shoes if they ask you, turn on your cell phones, charge them up, prepare yourself for the airplane.
Yeah, and sack up. Sack up. That's the phrase. Do you think Luke had a couple of glasses of wine before that appearance? Possibly.
Sack up.
Sack up, exactly. All right. Sarah Palin, yep, she thinks John Boehner is a weenie because he just wants to sue President Obama. That's not enough for the former half-term governor of Alaska, the intellectual giant of the Republican Party.
Number 2.
Impeachment is a message that has to be sent to our president that we're not going to put up with this lawlessness.
Impeach him. Don't sue him. Impeach him, says Sarah Palin. And finally, with the David Letterman points out he must say he was certainly surprised that Republicans would choose Cleveland over New York for their national convention.
Number 1.
Speaking of Cleveland, you know, the Republican convention is going to be held in 2016 in Cleveland, and they defeated New York City, was in the running. Cleveland beat New York City, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this is not right. What, hookers and bribes don't work? What is the problem?
Nope, they don't work anymore. All right, our sound bites for the week. Clips of the week, and I'll be back with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And now,
it is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, How have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
And on this Friday, July 11, my parting shot for today. Well, have you heard? Republicans are now engaged in a big civil war, and what they're fighting about says all you need to know about how the Tea Party has taken over the Republican Party these days. So on one side is John Boehner, who's announced plans to sue President Obama, a lawsuit paid for, of course, by American taxpayers. Boehner says he wants to sue the president for not doing his job, even though he hasn't given one specific example of where Obama has failed to do his job. So that's the Boehner side. On the other side is Sarah Palin and several senators and members of Congress, believe it or not, who are accusing Boehner of being too soft on Obama and insisting that Republicans should impeach him instead. Not sue, but impeach. Notice what's missing. The only debates whether to sue President Obama or impeach him, nowhere are there any Republicans willing to stand up and say, why don't we just work with him and start solving problems? Why don't we come up with some solutions of our own for jobs, for immigration, for infrastructure, for schools, or maybe even for climate change? After all, there is a third choice. It doesn't have to be sue or impeach. How about just govern? What a change that would be. That's my parting shot for today. Olivier Knox from Yahoo News joins us on Monday. Have a great weekend, folks. Watch a lot of World Cup. Come back and talk about it here Monday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.